Hello everyone, Brandon Gaston, Senior Digital Content Strategist, host of Gray Magazine in the Design Lounge. I'm blessed today to have Susan Marinello Interiors coming to us from Seattle. How are you doing?
Great, thank you.
Looking amazing as always.
Excited to be talking to you this morning.
And tell us about your background, how you've been into it for 27 years now, I think?
I think if you count my time in New York, it's even north of 27.
So tell us about your firm and what do you do?
I'm Susan Marinello, and I started my design career in New York City, decided that I wanted to start my own firm and move home to my hometown of Seattle, Washington. That was 1996, and the rest is history. It's been an upward trajectory.
And actually, I want to talk about that because you've been in the industry for 20 plus years, right? And obviously, like you talked about, year to year, the business aspect changes, the design aesthetic changes, you're traveling and your experience changes. When did you determine or find out the Susan Marinello design language, if you will? And was that something that you set out intentionally to create, or did it kind of expose itself to you after you've been in the business for a few years?
Yeah, great question. And I would say both.
Okay.
I started my career in New York City, where the projects I had the pleasure of working on were very inwardly focused. And when you're in an urban environment like New York, or even out in the country, interior design is more inward. It's more interior focused. West Coast, we're so informed by our views, by our setting, and particularly here in the Northwest, almost every project we take on is connected to some kind of view beyond.
Yes.
It's almost the greater element of where we are. So in terms of answering your question about aesthetic, I always had very rooted ideas about what made me feel good and what I felt were important aspects of an interior. The idea of keeping things clean, keeping things bright, flowing so light can reflect around has always been kind of at the core of this firm's work, my philosophies. I've had the pleasure of seeing those ideas, just get a little even more validated and honed over the years.
Your experience in the industry when you came in 96, interior designers, interior decorators, if you will, it was viewed as a totally different profession, right? So you've seen this entire shift within the industry. And so talk about the shift within yourself, but also did you set out to have obviously everyone wants to be successful, right? And there's different levels of success, but did you set out to have the scale and size of entity? You have teams, you've won awards. When you started out, was that an intention?
I started out with just myself, not kidding, a drawing table and a fax machine. The intention was to do well at my job. The intention was to contribute. I like what I do. I like doing it. And we get to make more of a difference to more clients with more team. For the Northwest, we're a larger firm. We're 16 people. I don't want to be larger because I am able to touch each project we work on. And that's a really important commitment for me.
Talk about that evolvement within you, right? It's overlooked the business side, the business of design, right? Not the aesthetics of them, but the actual business of design. Going from a solopreneur, like you said, having a table and a fax machine, to now having a team of 16. There's people that are going to be watching this and want to know, how do I scale? How do I grow? How do I know when to grow? And you've done it. How did you navigate those unforeseen steps? And what would you tell yourself, maybe looking back, saying, hey, okay, these are some of the touch points. These are some things you should look out for. These are some things when you know to pivot as you're growing.
First and foremost, you've got to understand and identify what are the 5 things you're good at.
Okay.
And grow those 5 things. And don't get hung up on trying to do the other 22 things that are integral to the business. Figure out how to stay in your lane and strengthen those strengths. And then you can offset and build your team. I like basketball.
Okay.
You have a point guard and you've got a post, and everybody else has to fit in and make the plays. I field my team based on my weaknesses, and then collectively we're a mighty whole.
I love the aspect of team, right? Within that, you have your internal team as you're scaling and growing and managing, but you have your external team, right?
Oh.
I would imagine you have the partnerships that you've created and sustained, and some work better than others, some are more fruitful than others. Can we talk about that process of creating your team around you, not only internally but externally?
We talk about that a lot internally because on a weekly basis, we're touching 100 others or more that are part of our at-large team, right?
Yes.
And whether it be artisans, architects, craftspeople, workrooms, you name it. We're only as good as we plug in with that whole collective body of people. We need them, they need us. It's a really important support system.
That's the beauty of having to select the right team members. Regardless of your one aspect or one part of a collective, of what the client needs, of what the client wants. And so everyone has to be held accountable. Everyone has to have a standard for it to work, to get the end result. And you can't just do it on yourself. So it's like it forces you to really identify and curate those relationships and that team around you.
Oh, no kidding. I mean, it's leadership, it's politics, it's all of life. And it's a circle. Everyone's different. And what the pandemic taught us is we all have different needs. We all have different emotional reactions to things that, worry us or challenge us. You just have to be supportive in the best way you can.
How did that make you better as a manager, as an executive? Because again, I think what has happened is,
well, the jury's not out on that.
I'm saying it, right? They say, let's speak it into existence. I'm going to say it is. And so, but it has necessitated the role of being more in touch and more empathetic and more understanding and expand our scope, if you will, of our EQ, right?
Of course.
So how has that improved your leadership skills?
Thank you.
Since I'm saying it has improved.
Yeah, thank you. The most important commitment I made, and I'll just speak for myself, was open mind, open heart, and agility, and an ability to pivot at any turn and trust my instinct. Abandon rigid process rules. You've got to have a process and you've got to have those guardrails, but you got to be able to break them when you need to. Finding comfort in pushing your boundaries, limits, rules, process, and being able to stretch it like, you're making dough.
Yeah.
And I guess the only word I can come up with is agility.
From a leadership perspective, you've had to innovate.
Yes.
And change the rules that were said prior. And how do you need to, again, adapt and be agile to the current workforce?
Right. And what works for your husband's company, what works for your father's business may not even apply. You've got to know your people, and you've got to create that support system for your organization and your group and your values and mission.
How has your firm's focus shifted, or has it shifted from not only maybe internally but also externally, the types of projects you work on?
We've really always responded to the economics of what's happening, right? And I have committed to sort of 3 categories of projects for the last couple decades. So it's, private residential work and it's commercial work, but it's divided between residential, luxury high-rise or hotel, hospitality. Before the pandemic, we were really 50-50. And because hospitality really slowed, those projects hit the pause button. And it's also economic, right? We're stronger in Seattle today than the Bay Area is, for instance. We love design, so it doesn't really matter to us other than it's a quality opportunity with quality people.
How do you navigate and, like I said again, kind of forecast the different aspects? And then how do you've mentioned it, maybe even more detail, how you have the 3 aspects of your business. Making sure you're well represented in each. So in case an aspect of your business happens, because now we can all expect the unexpected, we're still covered because we still have our base of work that we have ongoing.
I would say be curious, ask a lot of questions, pay attention and read the news and talk to your fellow business owner friends Talk to anyone that's navigating, compare notes, get yourself involved and organized with forum groups or other organizations that share knowledge. There's no way we can forecast. I'm an interior designer, but I pay attention and I ask a lot of questions, and I know who to call to get information. You're going to get 3 different answers, but then that's where you get to apply the answer for you. And
totally,
it's fun. It's a part of staying connected, right? That's business.
Yeah, no, talking about that, the business of design, right? And having that right, it comes back to teamwork, like you said, having the right people in place, understanding who you need to talk to at different times. Knowing what you know now, 20 plus years later, 1996, you planned for success. Of course we all do, but maybe not to this scale. Mm-hmm. What are you looking forward to next?
What I see coming for my firm is just this very acute commitment to quality. And it's being very discerning and aligning ourselves with efforts that have meaning.
What did you discover, throughout the process that maybe you discovered in year 10 or year 15 or year 5 that you wish you would have known maybe a couple years sooner? Nothing
stays the same.
Yeah. Okay.
I guarantee you, if we chat again in 12 months, it's a different perspective. And, I had a kaleidoscope when I was a kid, and I would look through it, and it creates all these different colors and patterns.
Prisms, yeah.
I was mesmerized by that. And honestly, every month it's a shift in the kaleidoscope view. And you can't get set and locked in to the comfort of how it is today, because tomorrow's another day.
Stay agile.
Stay agile. I have this mantra, and you've heard it before, but it's this idea that our wounds are our gifts. And if we can look at challenges and hardship and trauma and frustration and shape it into something that was an opportunity to learn and grow and mentor towards and learn from, we're better.
Yeah.
We're better, stronger, sharper,
faster, fitter,
exactly,
more agile.
Right, more agile.